Hi guys, back again for video number three, which means, believe it or not, that it's been a month since I started doing Flosstube, which is pretty exciting to me. I have a lot to talk about this time, so I don't want to waste too much time on an introduction. I do want to say thank you to everybody who has liked and subscribed to my videos, left comments. We've had some interesting conversations, I guess, back and forth comments, so that's pretty cool. It's nice to see people that I've watched come back and comment on my videos, so I gotta say, I love this community, and I'm really looking forward to sticking around for a while. Hopefully the magpie doesn't strike and drag me away anytime soon. Anyway, let's get to it. I will start with my finished object. Isn't that usually the best place to start? So you know I was working on the Celtic knot in a DMC variegated just to see how the colors worked out and how the pattern worked. And this was a free pattern that I found on Pinterest, so I won't show it to you because I know there's some controversy about patterns there. And this is just for my personal curiosity and use, so I'm not going to sell it or anything like that. But this is how it turned out. I think it's pretty cool. You know, you can turn it anyway. It looks the same pretty much. This is the last piece that I did, though, and I kind of had to... I think this is the last piece. Whatever, whichever piece is the last piece. I had to fiddle with the last quadrant because the pattern was a little wonky. However, I think it turned out pretty nicely. Relatively small project. I don't know how I'll finish it. I don't know what I'll do with it, but it's done, and now I know how the variegateds work, and yeah. I think it's nice. The next piece I'll show you is the Hope piece, the cardinal piece. Again, I don't have the cover photo, so I can't show you what this will look like, but I will insert a picture. And this is where I am now. Now, if you recall, and that is the right way up, yes. If you recall, most of this was already done. I had done the internal stitching, so I haven't made a lot of progress on the cardinal this week, much to my surprise. I thought I'd done more than I did, but apparently not. So that's where he is. This is the cardinal's head here that you can see, and his tail. There's a word hope here. There's a branch that goes all the way through. Not a lot of progress. Maybe I can get some more done on that in the next couple of weeks. So I'll have something to actually show you next time you watch. Oh, and my little zebra needle minder. It has nothing to do with cardinals, but it's cute. And so there it is. The next piece is the snowman, or rather Santa in a snow globe. Looks like this, or is supposed to look like this when it's finished. And this is where I am. It's going to be tough to see some of this. Let me get a contrasting piece of color here so you can see that, yeah, you can see that a little better. I put some white in. You can see the snowflakes in the snow globe, and there's some white in Santa's beard and outfit here. You can still see the outline of the bike. Obviously, the base of the snow globe still needs to be done, so it ends up looking like that. But I did get a decent amount of work done on this, and I did part of this as on the Stitches in White Satin in one of the groups. I think it's Cross Stitch Finish Line or Stitch Mania. I can't remember which. Sorry, brain fart. Anyway, that is my progress on the snow globe for this week. I did do some more work on the Let's Garden by Ursula Michael that is going to look like this. And sorry if you hear me rustling paper. I have things stacked up beside me and it's going to make a little bit of noise. I apologize about that. Anyway, this is the Let's Garden pattern that I am making for my aunt, as I mentioned in the last two videos. It was a last-minute substitution for the Mother Nature pattern that I showed in my first video, but I like this one so much better. And I got a significant amount done this week, or this interval. I did this for a group too. It was, you know, a weekend rush kind of thing, although I think this was actually part of the Thanksgiving Feast or Famine event. But I finished all of the green stitching on here. And my camera setup is a little weird this week, so I have to move things so you can actually see them. I apologize for that. Hopefully nobody gets sick. Anyway, the green is all done. The variegated is in the letters again, the letters that are filled in here. And the rest of it is just a solid green. This actually will be the background for flowers or different colors that go in here. So, pretty good progress on that this time. I gotta keep chugging away on this because I really need to finish this and start the one for my uncle, which is fishing. So, we'll see. I found, ta-da, my cover page for Death by Cross Stitch. I know I said I didn't get one with the pattern. I actually did and just didn't realize it. So this is what the Death by Cross Stitch will look like. If you have not seen this, if you haven't been watching Flosstube, because a lot of people are doing this and a lot of them are showing the picture. But that's what it looks like. And this is where I am. Now again, this was a false start up here. This is the actual thing. This is 2 rows. So rather than, I know a lot of people go column by column when they do blocks, and I am stitching this in 10 by 10 blocks, but I have also seen that people sometimes end up with lines between the columns when they do that, and I wanted to avoid that if possible. I don't know if stitching it by rows is going to make a difference, but that's what I'm doing. So instead of going column, I'm doing rows. So this is 2 rows, and this is 3 blocks into the 3rd row. So anybody who knows this pattern, or anybody who's seen other progress, this is where the unicorn is, approximately. There's a bird here, so the motifs are starting to show up. I did find it interesting, and I posted this in the Death by Cross Stitch group. If you notice, if you go across the top border here, you will notice that it's relatively uniform. The pattern repeats, and that's lovely. And then you get here, and you see that it goes up, down, up, but there's no flower there. I thought that I had made a mistake the first few times that I stitched that, so I frogged it back and stitched it again and frogged it back and stitched it again, and every time I stitched it, it came out like this. So I figured, well, maybe it's supposed to be like that. And I looked at the other pictures in the group and noticed that the majority of people actually did stitch it this way. So I asked whether this was an intentional design motif or if it was a mistake in the charting or something like that. And the designer herself actually came and said no, that she had incorporated a few changes in the chart so that the pattern isn't perfect. It's not always symmetric. It's supposed to be like that, and I think that's awesome. I love that. She cited a story that I have heard from many different cultures and told in different ways, but that designers sometimes include errors in their patterns in order to remind themselves, to remind the world that no one but God is perfect. No one creates a perfect thing except God or the gods, depending on the culture that it comes from. Hers was an African story. I've heard it from Native Americans. Apparently there are some Amish that believe this as well. So it's a common story. It's common mythos. There's also the story of Arachne in Greek mythology, who was turned into a spider because she boasted about being the best weaver and spinner. So it's a recurring story, and I like it a lot. And so I like the fact that the designer quoted that when she said, yeah, the pattern is not absolutely 100% symmetrical. It's not always perfect, and sometimes you're going to find these little changes. Apparently there are a few more scattered throughout the pattern, and so I'm looking forward to getting to those and seeing what they are. I love it. I love the pattern. I'm having a really good time working on this, even though the fabric is tiny, tiny, tiny. This is 28 count antique white. I'm using DMC 400 for my color, and I have now rambled about this a lot, so I will stop rambling and move on to the next project. which is my dragon knot, which will eventually look like this. I'm making this for my husband. He hasn't figured that out yet. He hasn't cottoned onto it. Of course, there's not a lot of progress to see, so he won't even know what it is if he does see it. But I sadly had to start over on this. And this is where I am right now. Mostly black. This is a hand-dyed fabric that I dyed, so it is a mottled brown and cream color with my little needle minder that says slay your own dragons, which I really love. But I had to start over on this because if you recall, or if you watched my last video, you remember that I was talking about the difficulty in doing full cross stitches 1/1 on 28 count fabric. I discovered that I was trying to do that incorrectly, that I was trying to stitch like I normally do, which is to do row stitches, to do all of the bottom leg and then come back and do all the top leg, and that does not work for me personally on 28 count fabric. I have to complete every cross. So if I complete every cross, I'm fine. I just have to carry the yarn across the back of the project, and given the size of this thing and given the number of colors and the confetti, it's gonna be a little messy. Pardon me. It's gonna be a little messy on the back anyway, so I'm not gonna worry about that too much. I also tried doing the half stitches, tent stitches, or continental, or whatever they're called. I don't know the difference. I consider them all half stitches, so that's what I was doing. But I was trying to do 2/1 half stitches, and I was not happy with the coverage, particularly along the edge here. It was just too thin and patchy looking for me, even though at a distance it probably would have been fine. So I decided to start over. And let me tell you, ripping out all of that progress that I had on 28 count fabric was painful. Painful and slow. Nobody wants to do that. I don't want to do that again. So I started over. This is mostly black now, which is fine. There's a lot of black in this. But I'm much happier with this little bit than the amount I had stitched before. I feel like the coverage is better. I am, again, understanding how to stitch this better, so 2 thumbs up. I like it. I'm going to move forward with this. You will also notice that I have little Q-snappy things. These are knockoff Q-snaps. I know I said in my first video that I am a hoop girl. You have seen a couple of hoops. I am still a hoop girl. I'm not going to give up my hoops, but I wanted to give frames another try. Scroll frames, I can't do it. I have a couple and I tried again and I still can't manage to figure out how to make them work and have proper tension and that kind of thing. The Q-snap-ish frames I'm having better luck with, so I may switch back and forth between Q-snaps and hoops. We'll see how it goes. Oh, and I nearly forgot, because I think I'm blocking this thing out of my mind. The tablecloth. The tablecloth that I have complained about at length, that I do not like working on, that I do not like the fabric, and I really don't want to have to stitch this 4 times on the same item. But I told Mom I would do it. Mom sent it to me and she wants it done, and she's my mom. I have to do things for her. So I'm continuing to work on it. This is where I am now. Obviously you can see there's another bird here. This is bird number 2. There's another bird on the other side of the robin or whatever he is in the center here. Still not having fun. The fabric is still terrible. The threads shift and I mess up the count all the time. There are so many mistakes in this thing, I can't even tell you. I mean, things don't line up. I'm having to fudge where the pieces go because I missed rows, and it's terrible. But I will agree with some people who have commented on the item itself, on the pattern itself. The birds are pretty cute. I mean, he's pretty cute. This is going to be a pretty cute bird. So I can't deny the fact that it's a cute pattern. It is growing on me as far as how it looks, but working on it, I still don't like it, and I still don't ever want to do this again. I have decided that I'm not going to do the back stitching on this. These flowers are back stitched, and you cannot tell. You can't, it doesn't make a difference. The difference between these flowers and this flower that's not backstitched. Can you tell the difference? Because I certainly can't. So I'm not going to do it. The fabric is just too weird and loose and wonky to make it worth doing the back stitching. So I'm sorry, little birds, you will not have solid outlines, but pretty cute. And that's where I am. So that's all of my works in progress. Let me go on to haul, because I actually have quite a bit of haul. I mentioned in my first video, and I've said a couple other times, I'm a magpie. I collect shiny things, and so when my focus shifts to a particular craft, I collect everything. And I follow trends, and I go a little bit crazy. So, needle minders. I said originally that I had never heard of needle minders, and that's still true. I hadn't, but obviously now I have. And these are some more needle minders that I have made myself. I basically, when I go to a craft store, and I've been to craft stores quite a lot in the last couple of days because of Black Friday sales and that kind of thing, I have now started looking at charms and buttons and things like that so that I can make needle minders. I already have more than I have projects, so I'm trying to keep myself in check and not buying a lot of things. I still have more that I haven't put magnets on yet, though, so yeah, this could be a problem. However, these are just a few of the ones that I've done lately. Obviously, a little frog button. I like frogs. I have seen that somebody else has this one, the Sparkly Santa Claus. This is a button, too, that I just clipped the back off of. I really like him. I will put him on, Christmas projects that I'm working on or whatever. I just thought he was really cute. And the little sugar cookie heart. These, Coco Pele. Love Coco Pele. Oops. And the Dreamcatcher are going to go on projects that I'll be working on in the future for certain. They probably won't be started for a while, and I'll talk about what those are in a minute, but they're definitely going to be used. And this little, let me move the needle so you can actually kind of see it. Maybe move it out of the light. There we go. Can you see that at all? A little bit. Anyway, my little shamrock on a heart. That was on my Celtic knotwork piece, and now that it's finished, obviously, it's not there anymore. And this is, as you can see, this is a cake pan that got beat up and battered and is probably not good to cook with anymore, so I figured, hey, why not use it to hold my needle minders for the time being? So there you go. So the haul that I was going to talk about. And I meant to talk about this last episode for sure. I don't think I had them the first episode. Oh, no, I don't. I know I didn't. So, Kelly Bell Stitches. Kelly talked about going and finding Joan Elliott books on the cheap on Amazon. So I decided to go and look too, because I really like, and that's really nasty and glary. So let me just move that light for a second. I really like Joan Elliott's designs, and so I went and I found a couple of books. Kelly talked about the Native American cross-stitch book, and I found it, obviously, as well. I have a couple of Native American pieces. Being that I am partially Native, I really like the artwork and the style. Our house will eventually be decorated in this Southwest style. Anyway, justification aside, this is the book. It is a hardback. I think I got this for like $2 or something. And again, because my camera is weird, I can't show you the whole picture. I apologize. But you've seen it. Kelly has shown it. Other people have shown it, I'm sure. At any rate, Kelly was talking about this pattern, which is called Indian Maiden, and saying that she thought that there was a different Indian Maiden, and there is a Native American Maiden pattern that is on 123 Stitch that is also Joan Elliott, but it's a different pattern. There is also, in this book, there is, and let me see if I can turn to it really quickly so I can show you the pattern. There's this one. Yeah, it's going to be tricky to do this, but this is the Native American or Indian warrior pattern. Obviously the companion piece to the Maiden, and Kelly mentioned that she might stitch them together because they face different directions. There is also another pattern on 123 Stitch that is Native American Brave. That is, again, a completely different pattern. So if you find them on 123 Stitch and you look at them and you think that they're a little odd looking or they don't look familiar, it's because they're not the same pattern. These patterns, as far as I know, are only in the book, and the other two are available on 123 Stitch on various other websites. So I will be stitching those two at the very least at some point in the future. Probably not at the same time that Kelly is. I think Kelly's probably going to be able to start them sooner than I can. But I'm definitely going to stitch those two at least. While I was shopping, I also found, and Kelly has this one too, so I'm really going to blame Kelly for this because it's totally her fault. But I also found the Oriental Odyssey book, and this, again, this has the geishas in it. Let me check what she calls them in the book. These are called Oriental Lady Beauty, Oriental Lady Grace, and Oriental Lady Wisdom. But if you look on websites on 123 Stitch or wherever you happen to buy your patterns and things like that, do a search on the internet, you are going to find the blue geisha, the red geisha. They are different patterns. They are not the same geishas. They are not the same patterns at all. I don't know if you can get these patterns anywhere else other than in this book. I don't know if they were in magazines or anything, as I know some of Joan Elliott's patterns showed up there first. But the patterns that are on 123 Stitch are not the patterns that are in this book. So if you want these patterns, you can go on Amazon and see if you can find copies of the book. There were lots of them when I looked, and they were, again, pretty cheap, depending on the condition that they're in. So, Oriental Odyssey and Native American Cross Stitch by Joan Elliott. And then because so many of you have luck at thrift stores and things like that, I figured I would go to a thrift store and see if I could find any cross-stitch things. Disappointingly, I didn't find a lot. The one thing that I did find was this book, The Best of Vanessa Ann's Cross-Stitch Collection. I am not very familiar with Vanessa Ann. I'm sure I've seen a lot of her patterns, but I don't remember them in particular. And I would not actually have bought this book if it were not for the fact that one of my friends was with me, and she noticed the book and said, "Hey, isn't this cross-stitch? And you should check this out. This is pretty cool." I don't really need to do a lot of page throughs, or rather, I don't need to do a page through at all. I'm going to show you a couple things. This is a really cute pattern called No Time to Spare, which obviously is an Alice in Wonderland white rabbit, though he's not white, as you can see, but a rabbit reference to Alice in Wonderland, which I thought was really cute. But the main reason that I bought the book eventually, after I paged through it a little bit, was that there are a series of Santa Claus patterns in here. And the reason I thought it was interesting is that, again, because of my stupid camera situation, and this light is just glaring right off of the glossy pages, I apologize. But the reason I bought it for the snowmen or Santas is because, if you notice, not only does she have traditional ones like Père Noël, which is the French Santa Claus, she has, sorry, I didn't mean to flash the pattern at you. She has, and Saint Nicholas, you see. Oh, glare, I'm so sorry. I can't, fix that without killing my light. Saint Nicholas. But she also has, Kanaka Loka, which you probably can't read because of the shadow, not only from my glary light, but on the page itself. Kanaka Loka is the Hawaiian Santa Claus, so Mele Kalikimaka. But she's got a whole series of Santas in here from different cultures that I thought was really interesting. Not that I'm going to stitch all of them. I might eventually, but not that I'm going to stitch all of them. But I just thought that it was really interesting that she had this whole series that some of them I've never even heard of. There's Sinterklaas in here, which I know, but some of them are not things that, and there goes my light. Hang on one second. Oops, sorry about that. Anyway, the point being that there were lots of Santa Claus, and I thought it was pretty interesting that she has like a international or collection of them in the book, so I bought it. I also, and I'm not sure who pointed this out, it might have been Danielle Stitcherista, but I know several people have taken advantage of these. Hirschner's had a sale on Cross Stitch and Needlework, since Cross Stitch and Needlework is going out of print. So I bought several issues to look at the patterns. I am not going to do page throughs of these. I'm not. I got 5 of them. And I'm not going to do page throughs because you have seen page throughs from many people. I will pull patterns out of them that I think are interesting when I find things that I want to do, and you will see them then. But I don't need to take up a whole bunch of time going through things that you have already seen. Since I was in a magazine mood, I also bought a few from overseas. I bought Cross Stitch Gold, which I swear, if I could get subscriptions to these, and I know I can, but I'm not going to, but if I could get easy subscriptions to these, I probably would, because I just love them. I can't tell you why exactly, but I do. So that's Cross Stitch Gold. And I bought this one as well, the Ultimate Cross Stitch Christmas, partially because of the Joan Elliott on the front cover. There are some great patterns in here. There's more Joan Elliott. There's some Doreen Jones, who does the Lakeside Needlecraft stitch-alongs and has her own Etsy shop and website and fantastic patterns even outside of the stitch-alongs. So don't just rely on the stitch-alongs, but there are patterns from a lot of people that are designers that I really like in here, and so I'm very happy to have this magazine as well, or book. And, oh, when I bought from Hirschner's for the magazines, I also bought more little tiny snowmen. You know I like, well, you don't know, but you have seen that I like little projects like this. My cardinal, my snow globe. I've talked about stitching on plastic canvas and perforated paper and things like that, so I bought these too. These are just little snowmen. I don't have any intention of pushing to get these done for this Christmas. They will get done when they get done. I will work on them over the year, and by next Christmas I will have them done, but they're just things to, as I've mentioned before, rotate in and out to have small things to work on in between my ginormous projects. So, there you go. Design Works Crafts, and they are called, what are they called? Oh, it doesn't have a name. Well, they're little snowmen. They're cute. And that's sort of the end of my haul. Sort of. Let me talk to you about 2 things. My rotation, which is, I don't have a schedule yet, though I did go and buy a couple of journals so that I can keep better track of what I'm doing. But my rotation, I sort of work on things until I get bored, and then I switch to the next thing. That's the way my particular stitchy bug, crafty bug works. I have to do that, or I will get irritated and I'll just stop entirely. But I know for a... Sorry, bumped the camera. I know for a fact that I will load myself up on projects until nothing ever gets done. I have no progress on anything because I have so many things to work on. So I've decided to limit myself to 8 projects in rotation at a time. That's going to be tricky because there are a lot of things coming out and a lot of things happening that I want to participate in. But I can't let myself do that, or I will overwhelm myself and I will disappear. So, 8 things. I am now up to 8. I have 6, or had 6. No, I think I had 6. 5 or 6. I finished the Celtic knot, and I am adding 2 more. The first of which, and I'm just going to show you this page, you guys have seen this a lot, is the Lakeside Needlecraft Fantasy Stitch Along. This is just the border picture. Obviously, none of the circles are filled in on this because I haven't done anything. I'd have to do the stitching on the border, and I just purchased this stitch along, so I have not done anything. As a matter of fact, I just put the zigzag stitch around the edges of my fabric this morning so I can get started. And the reason I did that is because the next clue, or the next circle, which is this one here, for December, is supposed to come out on Thursday. And so I wanted to at least get this circle stitched so I have a space to stitch it in, and then I'll go back and do the rest of the border and the rest of the circles and things like that. But I am signing on the Fantasy Stitch Along. I also signed up for the new Stitch Along for 2017, which is Under the Sea. I actually won a giveaway for a gift card to Lakeside Needlecraft, and I'm applying that. I applied that toward this, and I'm applying that toward the Under the Sea Stitch Along. So I'm just waiting on fabric, because I did buy the Stitch Along gradient special fabric, which looked really pretty in the picture, and I hope it's just as pretty in person. And then I will be joining in with that in January as well. And I think that actually makes project number 8. I think this one is number 6. Anyway, Fantasy Stitch Along. So I'll be working on that with all of you who are already doing it. And in order to keep things moving and to finish things that I have on my to-do list, I swapped out a small project because the Celtic knot is finished, and I will be doing this project for one of my friends who does not watch my videos, so I can post it here, but I will not be posting it on Instagram because she follows me on Instagram, and she doesn't need to see it until it's done. However, those of you who are Harry Potter fans, you know Hufflepuffs. She loves Hufflepuff, and so I figured I would make her the house crest. There are a lot of patterns out there. This is not the only one. This is from Stitchering on Etsy. Obviously, this is not the only pattern that you can find. I thought it was really cute, and this is the one I'm going to do. So, I have both of these kitted up and ready to go. So I will probably start working on both of them, just get a few stitches in on them today, and then they'll go into my rotation. And that is that. And I'm trying to talk kind of quickly because my video tends to cut off and then I have to paste it together. And nobody really wants to watch long videos with just my hands. Even though, you know, look, my nails are starting to grow back. So in the next couple of episodes, hopefully I will have a manicure again and you won't have to... Anyway, I think that's all I had to say. I think. Let me check my notes real quick, because I did make some, because I kept forgetting to say things and then realizing, oh, I should have said that, and I didn't. Yeah, I think I got everything. Oh, except a couple of shout-outs. First and foremost to Sadie Ruin, who is Yarnivore. She is a Yarny and a Flosstuber, so as a fellow Yarny, as a fellow Flosstuber, as a fellow podcaster, as someone who shares your concerns about what's going on in the world, I feel you, I hear you, I got your back. And just to add to everybody's well wishes for Danielle, Stitcherista, Danielle, I have not personally had to deal with a cancer scare, but I have had a lot of, or not a lot, but a few procedures on the girls, as I call them, starting with a surgery when I was 16 and having some surgical stuff done last year. So I know it's painful, I know it's scary, I know it's stressful, and your mind goes to scary places sometimes. But you have got such an amazing support network and so many people who are pulling for you and who care for you that I think you will be okay. I hope you come through it with flying colors. I have you in my thoughts, and I'm pulling for you. I don't know if either one of them watch my videos, but I kind of felt like I needed to say something, so I did. And blah, blah, blah. That's all I have to say this time, you guys. I will talk to you again next episode in a couple of weeks with some more I forget English at the end of the video. Perfect. With some more progress. Oh, and it's still recording. I thought it stopped. Okay, anyway, that's it. See you next time.